The Colombian Navy made a bone-chilling discovery after intercepting a 49-foot Narcotics submarine floating aimlessly off Colombia's Pacific west coast. Contrary to the usual, they were met with no resistance, and after climbing on board, discovered almost $100 million worth of contraband, 2 dead sailors, and 2 more likely glad to have been caught. This is the story of the Ghost Submarine. In March of 2023, a small submarine carrying 4 crew members embarked on a treacherous journey up the Pacific coastline of South and Central America. Departing directly from the dense jungles along Colombia's Pacific west coast, the submarine was likely en route to Mexico, a journey spanning more than 2,000 miles or 3,200 kilometers. However, this was no ordinary submarine. On board was 2.6 tons of cocaine, amounting to more than 6 million doses, with a street value of more than 87 million US dollars. This was a narco submarine, designed to evade authorities. More on this story shortly. The Narco Submarine, also called a drug sub, is a custom-built semi- or fully submersible vessel used by South American drug smugglers to transport narcotics into the United States, Mexico, and other parts of Central America. There are actually 3 main types of narco submarine. The first and most common is the LPV, or low-profile vessel. They sit just above the waterline and can carry a modest maximum load of up to 10 tons of contraband. The second most common is the semi-submersible. Using a snorkel to recycle fresh air, they can travel completely submerged and carry a load similar to their low-profile counterpart. With only a few having ever been seen by authorities, the rarest narco submarine is the fully submersible. In 2000, this half-built 100-foot fully submersible submarine was discovered in a small town on the outskirts of Bogota. Equipped with GPS and the ability to dive up to 30 feet, or more than 9 meters under the ocean's surface, according to Colombian officials, it could carry a whopping 200 tons of contraband. The genesis of the drug sub can be traced all the way back to the 1980s, when the method of choice was the go-fast boat. The go-fast boats transported hundreds of millions of dollars of narcotics through the Caribbean and onto the United States. Speeds of up to 90 miles or 150 kilometers per hour made them the ideal mode of transport for South and Central American cartels looking to export their product. However, with the technological advancements in radar and improvements to counter tactics by the US Coast Guard and other enforcement agencies, smugglers were forced to innovate to stealthier methods. In 1988, an early example of a drug submarine was found abandoned off the coast of Florida. Primitive in design, it was built to be submerged, then towed behind what would appear to the unsuspecting eye as a regular fishing boat. The rudimentary designs would only improve from there. In 2006, the US Coast Guard made one of the earliest seizures of a narco submarine in action. Dubbed Bigfoot, because they had heard about them but not really seen them, the sub was seized around 90 nautical miles southwest of Costa Rica. US authorities detected only 3 submarines that year. However, by 2009, that number had jumped to more than 60, and officials estimated that as much as 1 ton of coke was being shipped each day. The dense jungle lining Colombia's Pacific west coast provides the perfect cover from American satellites and Colombian authorities. Costing around $2 million to make, the submarines are being constructed at small camps deep within the jungle and take upwards of a year to complete. Smugglers ferry in thousands of pounds of materials, a labor force, and housing facilities for the workers. Up to 100 feet in length, typically made of wood, fiberglass and Kevlar to avoid radar detection, the submarines can carry as much as 10 tons of contraband. Given that their cargoes carry a street value of up to $400 million, the $2 million build cost, the builders themselves, and the men who crew them at sea are largely disposable commodities to the cartels who fund them. I'll go more into the cartels behind them later in the video. For the submarine at the beginning of this video, it would be one of the estimated 1 in 10 that never makes it to its destination, although not for the usual reasons of getting caught. Remember that viral video from 2019 showing the crew of the US Coast Guard intercepting a Narco submarine off the coast of Colombia? Well, the intercept on March the 12th, 2023 was nothing so dramatic. In fact, after receiving reports by fishermen of a submarine sitting stationary in the water, the Colombian Navy simply pulled up alongside it and was met with no resistance. In a scene straight from Narcos, after opening the hatch and peering inside, they stumbled upon 2 dead bodies, an estimated 2.6 tons of cocaine bundled in shrink wrap, and another 2 sailors in need of urgent medical attention. So what was going on here? According to the Colombian Navy, an accident on board caused the accumulation of toxic gases generated by the fuel, leading to the deaths of 2 of the sailors, and leaving the remaining 2 ill. According to Colombian officials, both sailors, the 2 dead bodies, and the cocaine were taken to the city of Tumaco and handed over to the Technical Investigation Corps of the Attorney General's office. The Colombian government touted the Navy's efforts in preventing the drugs from being delivered, estimating it kept more than 6 million doses off the market. This was actually only one of 3 submarines recently captured by the Colombian government, which allegedly belonged to one of the Splinter Factions of the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, a Marxist guerrilla group that attempted to overthrow the government between 1964 and 2016 and used drug trafficking and other criminal activities to finance its work. In 2016, the Colombian government signed a peace deal with the group, ending over half a century of conflict that left over 200,000 dead. And while the group are now an official political party within Colombia, their splinter factions are strongly suspected to be behind the manufacture of the submarines and the subsequent trafficking of the contraband. One question you might be asking is, who are the actual sailors? Are they in on it, or are they simply just couriers risking it all for a tiny cut of the cake? Contrary to popular belief, narco subpilots are typically not part of the cartels themselves. Often from poorer parts of South America, they see the job as somewhat of a high-risk, high-reward opportunity to provide for their families. However, despite the offer of huge financial compensation for their work, sometimes poorly constructed vessels or more efficient law enforcement can mean for many of these sailors it'll be a one-way trip. But for some in the poorer areas, it's a risk they're willing to take. Following a recent increase in submarine activity, Colombia's Ministry of National Defense has stated its commitment to crack down on any narco vessels in the country. The Colombian Navy will continue deploying all its capabilities to counter the scourge of drug trafficking structures that commit crimes in the Colombian Pacific.